gums at each other any chance they get. The fight clock is brought to you by Modelo. One of the greatest knockouts you'll ever see.
It's time
for you to sit back, relax, and listen to a complete and fucking utter armchair expert give his completely and utterly useless opinions on the one hell of an amazing sport that is MMA. Well, we've actually made it to episode 2. This will just be a short, quick one today because I've already obviously done my review of the cards, etc. But there's just 2 quick things I want to talk about. I do want to talk about UFC 271 again briefly because, of course, what I talked about last episode has now come to fruition. It'll be Tai Tuivasa versus Derrick Lewis in the co-main of UFC 271, and I am looking forward to that fight. That is going to bang. So I'll talk about that after. The other thing I wanted to talk about, probably the more notable topic, is Francis Ngannou and where that all ends for both him and the UFC. So let's get into it. I suppose we'll talk about Francis first. So, what actually happened? Well, I didn't watch the press conference, but from what I'm told, Dana was quite underhanded, or not underhandedly actually, he was very openly disrespectful of Francis. Said, Francis is the underdog, blah, 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 and basically all but admitted that they weren't on great terms and that he was pretty much hoping Ngannou would win. So then the fight comes, and it looks like that might just happen. I won't lie. From what I've seen of the fight, it looked at first like that might just happen. Until Francis Ngannou body slammed Cyril Gane. From that moment on, the whole trajectory of the fight changed. And from what I have heard, Dana left the ring at that point. Now, why? We don't know for sure. There's been a lot of speculation as to why. But of course, Francis wins. As a lot of eagle-eyed fans were well aware, as nearly all MMA fans are eagle-eyed, for the first time ever, not the first time ever, sorry, but Dana wasn't in the ring to hand Francis the championship. That's only ever happened a couple of times. I may have this wrong, but I know he didn't when Anderson fought Damian Maia in Abu Dhabi because he was pissed off that Anderson was being a bit of a showboat. He didn't really rate Damian Maia, and thus he didn't take the fight seriously because Abu Dhabi was at that point a huge partner of the UFC. As we would find out, 10 years later or so, when the Big C happened and we needed to go to Abu Dhabi for Fight Island. But anyway, that's in the future. And I'm not 100% certain if he put the belt on GSP when he fought Johnny Hendricks or not. I don't quote me on it. I know he was annoyed after the fight, but that may or may not have happened. And now, of course, Anderson. Jeez, done it a second time. Francis. But there was one difference in between those 2 events, right? As pissed off as Dana was at both the Anderson and Hendricks fights, which, by the way, I do believe Johnny Hendricks won that fight. Dana still showed up to the presser. For the first time ever that I can remember, Dana didn't show up to the press conference. If that doesn't tell you where it's at between him and Francis, I don't know what does, because what other reason could there be? It's never happened before. Dana has always showed up to the presser. So, I don't know. And now it looks like they're taking Francis to court. So, yeah, I guess the question now is, where does this end for both parties? Well, probably not well, either way. If Francis caves under the pressure and agrees to a new deal, he's probably going to have to suck up the fact that he's not going to get what he wants. He may get more money, but it won't be what he wants, because there's no way Dana's going to break the bank on Francis Ngannou. And he probably won't get a boxing deal, because there's no way Dana's going to do that for anyone other than a certain person named Conor McGregor either. But if Francis gets what he wants, without leaving, of course, that means probably Dana's been pressured into it by the higher-ups to basically just give Francis what he wants, because it's a terrible look, which it is. It's a bad look, this whole feud with the UFC Heavyweight Champion. So, yeah, that'll mean Francis gets a boatload more money, probably gets a boxing deal to go fight Tyson Fury, which Dana really wouldn't want to do, but he'd have to do if he was pressured into it. And hopefully, happy days. But no matter what ending it is, someone's going to not get what they want. It'll either be Dana or Francis. And then, of course, there's the chance that Francis does sit out the year. He's no longer contracted, relinquishes or gets stripped of the championship and just leaves. That could also happen too. That is also very realistic. Not since, I think, probably Randy Couture have we seen a UFC heavyweight champion end up in this sort of bit of ties with the UFC. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens over the next year with that. Now we get on to the second thing I wanted to talk about, and that's Tai Bam Bam Tuivasa, the Aussie legend, being added on to the co-main event of UFC 271 against Derrick Lewis. Holy shit, there is no way that fight's going to the judges. Because both men can bang. I'm going to say... See, this is a sort of fight that's hard to call, because as I said, both men can bang, and it's possible that either one could knock each other out. Personally, I'd go with Bam Bam, because he's got fucking hands like granite, and can literally knock you out in one round in violent, spectacular fashion. But either way, I'm just so gassed that fight got added to what's a pretty decently stacked card, to be honest, with Izzy versus Whittaker 2 on top. Gas for that fight as well, as I said in the last one. But yeah, what do you know? We're bound to be an interesting weekend. I'll be watching for sure. And yeah, it looks like it's going to be another good year of fights for us MMA fans, if this start is any indication. So yeah, that'll be it for this one, guys. Just a little short one I wanted to do, because I wanted to talk about Francis and Tai Tuivasa, and I wanted to do it before UFC 271. So just a little short one. I don't know when the next one will be. Maybe whenever there's another big card or Conor comes back or something. Who knows? Actually, that's another thing. There's a lot of talk around at the moment that he might stay at 190 pounds, which that's just crazy if he actually does. But anyway, that's for another episode. Don't know when the next one will be, or if there will be a next one. We'll just have to see how we go on that one. But till next time, take it easy, guys.